Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be checking out the world of body language.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So specifically, how to project confidence and attractiveness using just your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we're diving deep into this really popular YouTube video by Simone Squared.
Okay.
It's called 19 Body Language Secrets to Look Attractive and Confident.
Catchy.
Right. And this thing's got like millions of views.
Oh, wow.
So clearly people are interested in this stuff, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So let's break it down and see how these body language secrets from Simone Squared can actually help us in our personal and professional lives.
I'm all ears.
Yes. Okay, so Simone Squared, she starts off talking about posture.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right? It's kind of like a foundation. She's all about, taking up space.
Picking up space.
Yeah, like having open postures, expansive movements, that kind of thing.
Interesting. So what's the thinking behind that?
Well, there's actually a lot of psychology behind it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Studies have shown that, expansive postures can actually lower cortisol levels.
Oh, wow. So like the stress hormone.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So basically, standing or sitting tall can actually help us feel less stressed and more confident.
It's like a mind-body connection.
Right. It's like a feedback loop.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like when we feel confident, we tend to take up more space.
Right.
But then the reverse is also true. Like if we, make ourselves take up more space, we might actually start to feel more confident.
So it's like a two-way street.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It makes you think twice about slouching. Right.
Absolutely.
And she even tells the story about how when she was a kid, she read all of Donald Trump's business books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she learned about the importance of a firm handshake.
Oh, yeah.
And now she says she gets compliments on her handshake all the time.
That's interesting.
Right. Like it makes you wonder if it's the firmness itself or the confidence behind it that makes a difference.
I think it's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
But I'd say the confidence is definitely key.
Right. Because a firm handshake with good eye contact and a genuine smile can convey so much more than just, the physical gesture.
Absolutely. It's about the whole package.
So listeners, while we're talking about this, how's your posture right now? Maybe try adjusting it a bit.
Yeah.
See if you notice a difference in how you feel.
Even a small change can make a big difference.
All right, moving on to eye contact, which can be a little trickier.
Ooh, yeah.
I know for me personally, it's not always easy.
Same here.
It's so powerful though, right? Because it's like this primal need for connection.
Yeah, it's like we're wired to look at each other's eyes.
But it can also be really uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure, especially in certain situations.
So Simone Squared, she recommends strong 3 to 5 second eye contact.
Okay.
And she says it shows confidence and security.
Which makes sense. When someone can hold your gaze, it makes them seem more,
Trustworthy.
Yeah, exactly.
But then constantly looking away or looking down can be interpreted as nervousness or lack of interest.
Right. It can make you seem like you're not really present.
Right. Or you're not confident in what you're saying.
Exactly.
And Simone Squared actually admits that she used to struggle with eye contact on dates because she was so nervous.
Oh, that's relatable.
Yeah, I know, right? We've all been there.
Makes her seem more human.
Totally.
So it's something we can all work on.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about movement.
Movement.
Yeah. So Simone Squared, she differentiates between confident movements, which are usually slower and more controlled.
Okay.
Versus, fidgeting or rushed actions that can convey restlessness or nervousness.
Gotcha.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
It's the difference between a graceful dancer who commands the stage and someone who's just nervously pacing back and forth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Our movements can either amplify our presence or totally undermine it.
That's a good analogy.
And she uses this great example of fixing a sleeve.
Oh, okay.
Doing it slowly and smoothly versus quickly and nervously. It's even the smallest gestures can say a lot about how we're feeling.
Yeah, you're right.
So think about it this way. How do you move in different situations?
Mm-hmm.
Do you tend to command attention or do you find yourself kind of rushing through interactions?
That's a good question.
It's something to pay attention to, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so this brings us to another fascinating part of body language, which is vocal authority.
Vocal authority.
Yeah, so Simone Squared, she suggests talking downwards.
Talking downwards.
Yeah, so what she means by that is like avoiding that upward inflection at the end of sentences.
Oh, yeah.
You know how sometimes it can make you sound less certain or like you're asking a question when you're actually making a statement,
Yeah, I get it.
right? So instead, she recommends using a more downward intonation, which conveys a sense of authority and finality.
Like you're sure of what you're saying.
Exactly.
It's like the difference between a period and a question mark.
Yes. Perfect analogy.
Thanks.
And she even makes this funny comparison to the Kardashians and how they talk.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It was hilarious.
It was.
But it makes a good point, right? Like, we're so used to hearing that upward inflection that we don't even realize how it can impact how we're perceived.
Yeah, we might be undermining ourselves without even knowing it.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So it's something to think about, right? Like, how could you maybe adjust your tone or your inflection to project more authority?
Yeah, definitely something to experiment with.
Okay. Before we move on to the next part, let's wrap up this section with one last technique.
Okay.
And it's mirroring.
Mirroring.
Yeah. You've heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is.
So basically, it's when you subtly copy someone else's body language.
Oh, like their posture or their gestures.
Exactly.
Huh, interesting.
And it often happens subconsciously.
Really?
Yeah, like even when you're not fully present in the moment.
Wow, that's wild.
And Simone Squared, she tells this funny story about being on a date and realizing later that she had been mirroring the guy's body language the whole time, even though she was totally zoned out.
That's so funny.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It just shows how powerful this stuff is.
Yeah.
So have you ever noticed yourself mirroring someone? Or maybe someone mirroring you?
Now that you mentioned it, I think I have.
Yeah, it's something to pay attention to because it can be really revealing.
I'll have to keep an eye out for it.
Me too. All right. So that's it for part 1 of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from posture and eye contact to movement and vocal authority and even mirroring.
It's been fascinating.
I know, right? But there's still more to come, so stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore even more body language secrets from Simone Squared's video.
Can't wait. All right, so picking up where we left off, Simone Squared, she talks about this other really important part of body language.
Okay, what's that?
The smile.
Ah, the smile.
Seems simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But there's actually a lot more to it than you might think.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So, like, she points out that genuine smiles, they engage the muscles around your eyes. So you get those little crinkles like the crow's feet.
Right, right.
And she even mentions how, like, people who have had Botox, they sometimes struggle to convey genuine warmth or happiness.
Oh, wow.
Because those muscles are, like, frozen.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird side effect of trying to, stay youthful looking.
Right.
But it raises these questions about authenticity.
Right, because if you can't fully express your emotions through your face, does that affect how people perceive you?
Exactly. Like, are you truly connecting with them if your face isn't showing it?
That's a really good point.
And it highlights how important those microexpressions are.
Right. Like, we might not even be aware of them, but they can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So listeners, next time you're talking to someone, pay attention to their smile. See if those eye crinkles are there. It might tell you more than you think.
Definitely. No, it's switching gears a bit. Simone Squared.
Yeah.
She also gives some advice specifically for women.
Oh, okay. What's that?
She suggests that they lower their vocal tone if they want to be taken more seriously. Yeah, she brings up Paris Hilton as an example.
Paris Hilton.
Yeah, and how people react to her differently depending on whether she's using her natural voice or like a higher-pitched baby voice.
Oh, right, right.
It's a good example of how vocal tone can impact perceptions of authority.
Right, like we associate deeper voices with more confidence and competence.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if women are kind of subconsciously conditioned to speak in a higher pitch to seem more feminine or less threatening.
Right, like maybe it's a societal thing?
Possibly,
Yeah.
but it's definitely something to think about.
So by consciously lowering their voice, women could potentially challenge those perceptions.
Right, and project a more authoritative presence.
Interesting. Okay, so what else does Simone Square talk about?
Well, she also emphasizes the importance of leaning in when you're engaged in a conversation.
Leaving in.
Yeah, it's like a subtle way to show that you're interested and attentive.
Right, like you're physically and mentally present.
Exactly. And it can also make the interaction feel more intimate.
Right, like you're closing the distance.
Exactly. And on a similar note, she talks about nodding.
Nodding.
Yeah, like something we do without even thinking about it.
Right.
But it actually has a lot of power.
Really?
Yeah, it signals agreement and understanding.
Oh, okay.
So it makes the other person feel heard and validated.
Right.
And when people feel like they're being listened to, they tend to feel more positive about the person they're talking to.
It's a simple way to build rapport.
Exactly.
Wow.
And lastly, Simone Squared, she touches on something that's really helpful for anyone who struggles with anxiety.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Slowing down your breathing. Because when we get nervous, our breathing gets all shallow and rapid,
Right.
which just makes the anxiety worse.
It's a vicious cycle.
Exactly.
All right.
But the good news is we can break that cycle by consciously slowing down our breath.
Right, like taking some deep breaths.
Exactly. She even suggests things like meditation or just being more mindful of your breath throughout the day.
Right.
It's all about calming the nervous system.
I love that she incorporates those mindfulness techniques. It shows how connected our mind and body really are.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond anxiety, too.
Really?
Yeah, slow, deep breathing can help with so many things.
Like what?
Regulating your emotions, improving focus, even boosting your immune system.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, I want to highlight something really important that Simone Squared says.
Okay, what's that?
She emphasizes that while body language reflects our inner state, we can also use it to influence how we feel and how others perceive us.
So it's not just a one-way street.
Exactly. It's like we have some control over it.
We can actively shape how we present ourselves to the world.
Right. She uses the example of a job interview.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even if you're feeling nervous, you can still use confident body language to project an image of, competence and self-assurance.
It's like putting on a costume in a way.
Right. You're stepping into the role of a confident person.
Exactly. And that can actually help you feel more confident.
It's like that whole fake it till you make it thing.
Right. And there's actually science to back that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, studies have shown that even just adopting power poses like standing with your hands on your hips or sitting with your legs spread and your arms open can actually increase testosterone levels and decrease cortisol levels.
No way. So just changing your posture can actually make you feel more confident.
Exactly.
It's pretty wild.
It is. Okay, so let's wrap up this part and move on to the final section where we'll talk about how all of these techniques come together to create a more confident and captivating presence.
Sounds good.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Simone Squared's video, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's not just about mastering individual techniques.
Right.
It's about understanding how they all work together.
Yeah, it's like you can have the perfect posture, but if your facial expressions are off or your voice is shaky, the message gets lost.
Exactly. It's like putting together an outfit.
Oh, okay.
You can have a great jacket and pants, but if your shoes don't match or your accessories crash, the whole look falls apart. Right, so it's about creating a sense of harmony.
Exactly, like aligning your inner state with your outer presentation.
So basically, mastering body language is about being authentic and confident in who you are.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so let's recap some of the key takeaways from our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We learned that expansive postures can actually make us feel more confident and less stressed.
Right.
Strong eye contact conveys trustworthiness and engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And slowing down our movements and speech can create a sense of authority and control.
It's all about being intentional.
Right. And we also talked about the power of genuine smiles.
Yeah, those eye crinkles are key.
And the importance of vocal tone, especially for women.
Mm-hmm.
And the benefits of leaning in, nodding, and even just slowing down our breathing.
All those little things can make a big difference.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, here's a little challenge for you.
Okay.
Choose one specific technique that we talked about today and try practicing it for a week.
Yeah, pick one thing and really focus on it.
It could be anything from standing up straighter to making more deliberate eye contact or incorporating more pauses into your speech.
Just pay attention to how it makes you feel and how other people react to you.
You might be surprised by what you notice.
Absolutely.
And remember, like any skill mastering body language takes time and practice.
Yeah, don't get discouraged if you don't see results right away.
Just keep experimenting, stay curious, and have fun with it.
That's the most important part.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of body language. I hope you learned something new.
It was fun.
Until next time, everyone.